Hello everyone, this is Chromý and together we will continue the course Interdisciplinary Approaches to Language and its Use. In this presentation we will focus on the last of the three important factors which may influence the process of sentence comprehension, namely the context. We might predict that the context influences the preference for a syntactic analysis. For example, it can drive our expectation of what will follow, or it can disambiguate the following ambiguities. Importantly, while speaking about context, it needs to be said that it is not only the linguistic context that may influence the processing, but it can also be the situational context, which can play a certain role. One of the classic studies focusing on the role of context in sentence processing was a paper by Gary Altman and Mark Steedman. They focused on the processing of sentences such as "the burglar blew open the safe with a new lock and made off with the loot," and "the burglar blew open the safe with the dynamite and made off with the loot." You can see that these sentences differ only in the nominal phrase following the phrase "the safe." In the first sentence, "with the new lock" is used, which syntactically depends on the nominal phrase "the safe." In the second sentence, "with the dynamite" is used, and this is a nominal phrase which depends on the verb phrase "blew open." Altman and Steedman examined whether the processing of these two sentences would be influenced by the two types of contexts. The first context was a burglar broke into a bank carrying some dynamite. He planned to blow open a safe. Once inside, he saw that there was a safe with a new lock and a safe with an old lock. The second context was similar, but the last sentence was, "once inside, he saw that there was a safe with a new lock and a strong box with an old lock." According to the results, the second sentence was read much slower if it was preceded with the first context than if it was preceded by the second context. This gives us evidence that the context does play an important role in sentence processing, and that we may process identical sentences differently in different contexts. Another study examining the role of context is a paper by Simon Liversedge, Martin Pickering, Holly Brannigan, and Roger van Gompel. The authors ran an experiment on the ambiguous "by the" construction. This construction may have various meanings depending on the context and the noun with which it is used. The authors tested processing of two target sentences: "the shrubs were planted by the apprentice that morning" and "the shrubs were planted by the greenhouse that morning." When presented in isolation, the first sentence is processed faster. However, Liversedge and his colleagues found that if the target sentence was presented with a preceding sentence, "the gardener wondered where to plant the shrubs," the processing was faster for the second sentence, not for the first one. This again demonstrates the effect of context on sentence processing. This time, the context forced the participants to anticipate the spatial information. In sum, we may say that context can influence which analysis will be the preferred one. We also know that context is an important source for our anticipation and prediction. However, it is clear that context is not a universal constraint which determines the way how we process sentences. As the two other factors we mentioned, namely frequency and real-world knowledge, it plays an important role, and it often interacts with other sources of information. Before we will conclude this presentation, I have one reading tip for you. If you would like to read a newer study on the role of contextual information in sentence processing, you may get acquainted with the study "Generalized Event Knowledge Activation During Online Sentence Comprehension" by Ross Methusalem and his colleagues. If you enjoyed the presentations, we would be glad if you would like them on YouTube. That is all from me now. See you next time.